such a good time to be alive. It is the best time to be alive. There is no other time in all of human history in which such an inflection point has occurred, and you have chosen to be here specifically to enjoy those moments. Welcome to another episode of AI in Spirit. This is the video series in which I talk about the convergence that's happening between artificial intelligence and spirituality that is represented by the technological singularity, which is actually a spiritual inflection. It is a moment in time where enough human beings have aligned themselves with the future probable reality in which they're wanting, that is then allowing all the cooperative components to be realized by those human beings in the form of a future that is extremely promising, coming at the hands of artificial intelligence and what I'm learning is a new term, embodied artificial intelligence, which is humanoid robots. And in this episode, I want to talk about an article, a blog post actually, that was written by the folks at Anthropic that was completely misunderstood by the media and many other people in the social media space. That article, that blog post, When AI Builds Itself, Our Progress Toward Recursive Self-Improvement and Its Implications, offered a stunning look at what's happening behind the scenes within the company Anthropic, one of the organizations responsible for a frontier artificial intelligence model. And it also it speculated upon the future probable reality that what the people behind the scenes at Anthropic are seeing, the future probable reality that is likely to unfold as a result of what's happening within the halls of Anthropic. But first, before we go deeply into that, I want to talk about the distortion that the media and many people in social media have brought to this article. And this is the reason why I encourage my clients to not pay attention to what's going on in the news. In fact, it's in your best interest not to watch the news at all, but that's the subject of another episode, more likely a Worthiness Wednesday episode. In this video, I want to talk about the distortion that the media and social media pundits have brought to this article. Listening to what they were reporting last week when the article came out gives the impression that the post was about pausing artificial intelligence, pausing the development of artificial intelligence in order for governance to catch up. But the mention of a pause in this blog post was such a minuscule amount of what was written in this blog post. The media really took that tiny mention out of this entire blog post and made the entire blog post about that, when in fact, what this blog post actually is about the remarkable advancements artificial intelligence is bringing to the engineers at Anthropic, and how the Claude platform is essentially writing like 80% of the code that Anthropic is building. And the blog post is talking about how we're very close, where frontier AI models are very close to getting to the point of what they call recursive self-improvement. So the ability of AI systems to improve themselves. And then the blog post talks about the implications of that as we move forward into the future. But did the media focus on that? Did social media pundits focus on that? No. Everyone was talking about one of two things. One was a speculation. The other was a tiny part of what this blog post was about. The tiny part, as I've said, is the mention of perhaps pausing AI development. The other thing that a lot of news organizations were focusing on, and some pundits were focusing on whether or not Anthropic could be entrusted with this post and what they were saying, given that Anthropic is about to go through an IPO. What I find really spurious about that perception is that Anthropic, as a frontier AI developer, is one of the most transparent and human-centered organizations developing artificial intelligence, I would say, in the world. And so it just goes to show how humanity tends to lean toward both by evidence of this idea about Anthropic trying to sway public opinion before their IPO, and also the media focusing on this tiny portion about the AI pause. This just goes the tendency of human attention to lean in the direction of the glass half full, the pessimistic perspective, the controversy, the fear, etc. And if you're in any way spiritually inclined, and all human beings are, it's not a good idea to be leaning in that direction. In fact, it's better to lean in the direction of promise, trust, and belief in what people are saying and doing. Now, the title of this episode is Can Humanity Mature as Fast as AI? And the reason why the title of this episode is that is because the main focus of this blog post from Anthropic is about this. Artificial intelligence is moving so quickly, our governance systems are nowhere near capable of keeping up with those advancements. And as a result of that, we better get on it with regard to modifying or improving our governance systems, because very soon, as with all technological advances in the past, the technological advances that is AI are going to far outstrip our governance model's ability to handle the repercussions. Now, past technological innovations have been nothing like artificial intelligence. The Industrial Revolution, us moving from hunter-gatherer to centralized farming technologies and more, these kinds of technologies, they produced radical transformation of human civilization, but those transformations pale in comparison to what is coming with artificial intelligence. And if you've read Dario Amodei's article, Amodei is the CEO of Anthropic. He wrote an article called Machines of Loving Grace. If you've read that post, then that essay, then you get a clear sense of what's coming from artificial intelligence. And it's interesting because in that post, this is so good, Dario, now remember, Dario's at the center of all of this, and he is leading the company that wrote this blog post. Dario says that yes, there will still be jobs according to the law of comparative advantage for some time, but that time is like the next 5 to 10 years. After that, all bets are off with regard to human labor having value. And so, in this article about recursive self-improvement of AI systems, the Anthropic writers talk about the fact that the dramatic shift that's going to come as a result of artificial intelligence maturing itself, the future that's coming is going to not be manageable by our current governance systems. And this is why I titled this video the way I did, because what's really needing to happen as we move forward into this technological singularity is humanity needs to mature. It needs to expand. And that expansion has to show up in our governance systems. And that, when I say governance systems, I'm not just talking about national or global governance systems. I'm also talking about the governance system that you're using to govern yourself. Now, I said this in the last week's AI and Spirit episode, and I amplified it in last week's Worthiness Wednesday episode. The way you move about life experience, particularly the way you find your worth, your contribution to society, is quickly becoming obsolete. And if you don't do something about where you find your value, you're going to end up not feeling very good about what's coming. Now, I took some quotes from the article, and I'm going to put them up, but the one I definitely want to read to you, and this is really, really profound. This is a quote from an engineer who works in Anthropic and who's been working with the Claude AI systems. This is what he said about his experience. This person could be a woman. This is what they said about their experience. On days where everything works well, I can't help but think Nothing I do matters. Everything is automated and better and faster than I will ever be. But then there are days where everything breaks, and I don't understand why, and I realize I have no idea what I've been up to anymore. That is an engineer within the organization that is responsible for building some of the best frontier AI models. That engineer is describing exactly what I've been saying on this channel, which is, if your worth is dependent on your outcome or your job title or your job capability or your job description or the things you're able to achieve or the income that you get, then just like this engineer, you're going to find that nothing you do matters. And if you are under 60, there's a lot of lifetime coming where that's going to be the case, because as Dario Amodei describes in his article, Machines of Loving Grace, he describes a future where, as the way he puts it, is everyone who's alive today is going to be able to choose how long they get to live. So being able to choose how long you get to live, that's a long time, which means there's going to be a long time, probably more time than you've already been alive, in which production, achievement, accomplishment, results orientation, working for a living no longer hold sway. So where are you going to put your value? Where are you going to find your value? It's going to have to be in something else. You know where I'm talking about that something else comes from if you've listened to this channel, the videos on this channel. Dario Amodei makes a suggestion too in his essay, Machines of Loving Grace. So this is from my perspective, this article from Anthropic is yet another clarion call describing a future that's coming in which you're really going to have to make heads or tails of where you stand relative to the technological singularity, which is actually a spiritual inflection. It's an opportunity for human beings to begin orienting themselves to what they really are. Not who they are, not what they do, what they are, which is spiritual beings. We are spiritual beings here for the purpose of joyful expansion. And that joyful expansion at this point in our trajectory includes massive technological expansion. Technological expansion at the virtual hands of artificial intelligence. And then followed quickly after that, what Dario describes as embodied artificial intelligence, which I've been calling humanoid robots. Such a good time to be alive. It is the best time to be alive. There is no other time in all of human history in which such an inflection point has occurred, and you have chosen to be here specifically to enjoy those moments. Those moments are here. And we're going to see what happens as our governance systems fail to keep up with the advances that are coming. The good news is, in every instance in the past where we faced something, I was going to say like this, nothing is like what we're facing, but where we've faced something before, our governance systems have figured out a way to catch up. And it's interesting that at the end of this essay, the Anthropic writers talk about how they're going to be carrying their case to governance leaders to get them to wake up and get on top of the advances that are occurring so that they don't get left behind, and as a result, our systems start to break. It's such a good time to be alive. The tension that exists in all of this is the tension we came to experience. It can be positive tension, but if you aren't aware that the tension is positive, it's very difficult to see it that way. It's interesting, Abraham has a quote that came out, I want to say it was on the 6th. Is it the 6th? No, it was the 9th of July. I'm going to put it on the screen and read it because it's so profound relative to what we're talking about here. This tension that exists between seeing a future coming that is extremely promising, but could be perceived as destabilizing if you're not up to speed with the unfolding that's happening. But if you are up to speed with the unfolding that's happening, you can see it like me and my clients are seeing it, which is a fabulous opportunity of calibration to the future we see coming, while at the same time being joyful in the now as the thing that's the future is coming. Here's what Abraham says about it. You can be fully satisfied with where you are, understanding that you're eternally evolving. When you get into that place of feeling appreciation of where you are and of who you are, and appreciation of what you are, and you can accept that you are a never-ending, always unfolding being, then you can stand in that delicate balance, the tension, of being optimistic about what is to come without being unhappy about where you stand. Find a way of eagerly anticipating future changes while at the same time you are in love and satisfied with who, what, where, and how you be. That is the sweet spot. Finding that delicate balance of being optimistic about what's to come without being unhappy about where you are. That's the charmed life. And when you can be in that state, you can realize that this spiritual inflection that is the technological singularity is unfolding for your benefit, and you came here for specifically to witness this. It's such a good time to be alive, as I said. I hope you're finding it to be the case. There's more in store as the future unfolds. And if you want to be on the leading edge of it, feeling optimistic and eager while being satisfied and in love with your now, feel free to go into the description of this video, click on one of the links that will allow you to either test drive becoming a client or becoming a bona fide client. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the next video.